No, initially I did it with Laura and a friend. So I had them. So I had like a setup for 3 people.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just had it on the sofa. And to be honest, at this point, I'd always thought to myself I wanted to have like a backdrop thing to make it a bit more professional.
Yeah.
But I couldn't think of a way at the time to do it where because I'd have had to have had like 2 more of these and make like a box.
Yeah.
And I thought,
get that.
I'll just do it. But and then when I did one with Leon, I hadn't even thought about it. So he just sat on the sofa, and it was just, and I think it was, what was it? I had the thought of like, you know what, I must have come home after work one night. I thought I'd do nice. So it's like literally middle of the night, and then it was only because it was pitch black in here. I was like, oh shit, I could actually just put the shit across
back. Yeah, do it at the back.
And then luckily, so I would have done the same setup with Leon one, but I only thought about it literally when it comes to sessions one. So I think I'm going to have it like this when I'm doing 2 people ones, and then eventually I'll just have to try and figure out how I can sort of incorporate this with 3 people. Whether it's like getting another chair or some shit like that. But I figured, I figured like here, like this, I feel this looks a lot more professional in the sense.
Yeah, this is good. And it's good. I like the setup. I like the setup for sure.
So it's not too bad, man. I've got that mirror there because when I was doing sashes, luckily like it caught most of all the good content.
Yeah.
At one point, something said to me, just get up and look, and I looked and and what had happened was because to try and make sure I didn't get any interruptions, I put on airplane mode.
Oh yeah.
And then what happens is when it goes on airplane mode, it takes off the access from the iCloud.
Yeah.
So then it started recording the footage to the phone, and of course got quick. I was like, oh shit!
Ah shit!
But luckily I managed to catch it, so that's why I've got that. Yeah. So I was thinking to myself, and I think because you want it to be genuine.
Yeah.
And then if you have the genuine conversation but yet you recorded it, to try and recreate that is just it won't be genuine anymore. It's gone at that point.
Yeah.
But yes, I was like, I'm gonna get this.
I was gonna say, so did you have to start again then?
Well, this is the thing. Like I said, we were so just lucky that and in fact I think Sasha said I need to go to the toilet. Luckily, it was that actually. I think that's what it was. He went and I was like, let me just get up and look.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit! And I looked and I think it had only. I think we've been talking for about 45 minutes, and it got about 30 minutes of it. But luckily, the last 15 minutes is just nonsense.
Yeah.
But yes, I was lucky. But again, I think it's that thing of when you're doing these things, you start to learn and understand. Like these are the little sort of little hiccups that you sort of start to have to sort of prepare for.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like even there, and then at one point, the battery was like running low. Luckily, it was coming towards the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit! So now I've got a power bank, so that shit doesn't cut out.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
It was
that's
just
good.
it was rough.
Mate, you're prepped now. That's the main thing, though, right?
It's alright, man.
It's all a learning game. It's all a learning game, isn't it?
How you been anyway, bro?
Yeah, man. All good. All good. How about you?
I'm all good, man. I'm all good. How did the call go?
Yeah, it went really well.
Yeah?
So now I'm meeting them on Thursday in Hertfordshire. So
Nice one,
yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Before like we get into like what you're doing now, like so disclaimer, the job you had before, she was in the armed forces. So how did you go from being a soldier to I'm selling houses? Because it's safe to say like those two environments are wildly different. Like it's literally, and I remember, and it's interesting because I remember having a conversation with you when you were still in the armed forces.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it wasn't too much of the course you was away most of the time, but it was very much. I don't know. It was like, again, it's different because we've known each other for such a long time.
Yeah.
So it was always a case of I'm talking to Terrell and not necessarily the soldier at the time, but I can see there was a difference in the sense of your day-to-day sort of ongoing whilst you're in the armed forces to now shift to now that you're selling houses.
Yeah.
Like where like take us through that point in the sense of firstly what made you sort of think to yourself, you know what, let me change where I'm going. And then what then led you into sort of real estate?
Yeah, so I mean as you probably know, before the army I was a little bit lost, a little bit crazy, a little bit silly. Like I was just not really I didn't really know who I was, is the best way to put it. But then obviously joining the army, They instill that discipline in you. They put you into like a routine. You're very regimented, and it really like helps you find who you are. And I kind of just realized that I'm really good at just being me and being able to be around people and just, you know, like I have some sort of energy where people just gravitate towards.
Absolutely,
like, so it just became like one of them things where when I was in the army, I kind of just said to myself, like, it's time to do something different.
Right,
The discipline was great, but I then started to realize as well that I didn't want to be controlled anymore.
Right.
If you know what I mean? I wanted to kind of be in control of what I want to do and my daily routine. And
because I think because in my little short space time at the camp, it was very much, because I don't know about you guys, but there was a board. And it's tell you this, you're doing this, you're doing this. So you'd literally you'd look at that board, and it was and I remember it was weird because when it came to just the first week, when it came to sort of you had your own free time, I didn't know what to do. I was like, do you know what I mean? It was one of those, so I can understand what you're saying in the sense of being told what to do.
Oh, facts. Like, honestly, when we had time off, I'd be happy for the first, like, say if we got like 2 weeks leave.
Yeah.
First 4 days, happy as hell. I'm like, I can do what I want. Woo, let's do this, right? And then after the 5th day, I'd be like, I need to be told what to do. Like, I need someone to tell me what to do because I don't know what I'm doing. So half the time I was just looking at like at the time when I was going back to my mum's house, I'd just look at her and be like, is there anything you need me to do? Like, because I don't know what to do right now. So that was something that was hard to adjust to. Like, but yeah, I think once I realized that I just didn't want to be controlled anymore and I wanted to be in control of what I do, I just needed to find something that I could transition into. And I feel like obviously starting your own business, you need to have like a vision, you need to have a goal, and you need that discipline and consistency. And I felt like being in the military really helped me get to that point where I had all of these kind of traits and kind of things put in place so that when I did go for my own business and start it, like
it made it
it was easy for me to transition into that.
No, I see what you mean, because I think it's like, because that's the other thing as well, because like with when you came out, because did you go straight into real estate or did you go into something else first?
I went, so I was a prison officer as well.
Oh, that's what it is. I remember him telling me one thing and I was like, that's mad. That's what it was. I remember I was sitting there thinking to myself, there was something in between. And I think, and you know what it was? That was what, yes, I remember, because we met, I think it must have been, I can't remember if it was Frankie and Benny's on Nando's. We met up just for a catch up. And I remember asking you, like, what's that like? Because to me, like, was it Little Hay or?
No, so I was at H&P Wood Hill and then H&P Whitemore.
Right, So and I remember asking you, like, what's that like? What's that like in the sense of, what, like going from because being in the army is one thing, but again that's different because again the little time I spent in there, it's the case of you're kind of building a new group of mates that you're willing to sort of do whatever, go to the furthest extent for, and vice versa. And for the most part, you do kind of, I think you start to just enjoy it and you sort of crack on. And I think it's because I remember when I was working, I was doing labouring at one point. And there was I spoke to a lad that he worked in as a prison officer as well. And I remember him saying to me, I was like, oh, why don't you work there anymore? And he's like, I didn't like what it was doing to me. I didn't like the way I needed to be in that environment because that's not really who I am. And I felt like if I tried to be me in that environment, I'd just get eaten alive. So I then had to sort of adapt this persona that was just so far from who I was. And eventually I had to be like, I need to quit. Like, because this is not what you quit. So is it like, because again, we didn't really get a chance to sort of talk that much that day, but was it a similar thing in terms of the environment where it was like, were you still able to be Terrell, or was it an element of
no, it's the best way to put it. No, because you had to be someone different. Honestly, like if you didn't show that masculinity, you were done. Like I'm not saying that I'm not masculine, but what I'm saying is like you just have to be a proper alpha. Like if you're not, they'll just eat you alive. And even when you want to relax and like, and there are nice people in there, don't get me wrong, not everyone's like, people make mistakes, but I've learned being in there that like not everybody's a bad person. Some people just make wrong decisions.
Wrong place, wrong time,
and there's a lot of nice people there.
Yeah.
And you can have great conversations with people, but even then, like being black as well, like, there's a lot of other officers that will look at you and be like, you're way too relaxed with these people, what's going on? And like, honestly, like I've been there long enough for me to go, I do not want to be on that side for sure. Like, I am not being on that side for sure, 100%, because I ain't gonna lie, if I went to jail today, I'm done. I'm out. Just find me anything. I'm out. I don't want to be there. Right?
You know what's interesting? Like when you said it, because there's a girl I know. Her name's Alex South. I met her a long time ago, and I think she was a prison officer. And I've only just sort of, I think she'd written a book.
Okay.
Which I've not had a chance to listen to, but it was about her experience in working as a prison officer. And I think from the sound, again, like I said, I've not read it. I've not had a chance to sort of listen to it yet. But the status quo I'm getting is that whole prison officer world is just, and I guess maybe it's like, because I guess when you go in the armed forces, I guess there's an element that you kind of at the back of your mind, you're very much aware of what you're going in for.
Yeah.
Whereas, and again, you kind of understand, even though you can't fully comprehend it, you understand that you're going from civilian to soldier. You understand that I'm going into a different mindset and I kind of need to adapt. And again, you're there for such a long time that you almost kind of, you're able to go between the two sort of mindsets, because you're kind of able to, one, you only have to, when you come back from leave, you're only there for a little bit, then you go back into it. So almost like once a soldier, always a soldier sort of thing. But I guess when you're working as a prison officer and you're going home at the end of the day, I guess it's difficult to kind of, to go from, I need to be to then go home and be like, hey, how you doing? Do you know what I mean? So it's, and I guess again, like as you said, I think if you are, there's the sort of, the idea is that, of course, if you're in prison, you've done something really, really bad. Yeah. So to some extent, you're more likely going to be considered a bad person than not, sort of thing. But then, of course, when you start speaking to these people and you're like, oh, wait, you're not actually, do you know what I mean? You just made a terrible mistake.
So a lot of people, that's the one thing that I always say. Like, I'll go home after work with my ex-partner and I'd talk about these people and she was like, they're just scum of the earth. And you're like, yo, you need to relax, number one. Like, chill. Like, but she doesn't get, like, because you're not in the environment and you don't see them day to day.
Yeah.
Because when you see them day to day, you realize, actually, that was the one mistake. Because 90% of the time, they ain't doing this stuff out in the streets. Like, that was like a one-time thing. It happened. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of freaking serial killers out there. There's a lot of serial killers out there. There's a lot of repeated offenders as well. But like, there's some people that literally, they just made one mistake that one time and they're in there for life.
I've heard that. I think I can't remember what podcast it was on, but the guy said most of the people in jail are not like these stone cold killers. They're just people that made one mistake.
Yep.
And even if people that are in for murder, it was an accident. Most of the time it was an accident. They're like, oh shit, I didn't realize that. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, a lot of times it's just like people making bad decisions, like momentary relapse and sort of judgment, and then they end up in that situation, and then they're like, you know, Jimmy, it's not like in the film where everybody is just some hardcore criminal. In fact, usually if they are, they kind of become that criminal once they're in jail.
Yeah,
and then but initially it's not as black and white as it's just a bad person. They've finally been caught and they're in the place with other bad people.
Yeah.
But it was like.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, that was But like I said, I've not listened to her book yet. But it is, the idea I'm getting is that it's not a job you can just walk into and be like, oh yeah. It's a very much kind of, and again, I think it is. I think it must be, like I said, it must be difficult to kind of still be in civilian world, but at the same time, you're in an environment where it's. I don't know. I think anytime you're in an environment when it's always there's an us and a them.
Yeah.
Then and again, as you said, when you are just sort of chatting to people, because at the end of the day they are people, and then you're I don't know what you call it. I guess teammates, for lack of a term.
Yeah.
They're then thinking, they're then thinking, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
Are you? Is there something? Do you know what I mean? Again, because at the end of the day, it's just a job. But then again, it's kind of not. It's it's a bit. I can only imagine. Well, it's not a
It's
job I really want to get
it's
into.
a different world in there. Like the amount of times I used to go into the prison, and you be in this environment, and then you finish work, and then you come out, and it's just dead silent because it is loud in a prison. Like everyone's screaming.
Really?
Because they've been locked up for what?
Yeah, true.
12 hours, and then they come out, and everyone's like, yo, yo, yo. It's just mental. Like everything's going crazy.
Yeah.
Prisoners coming in the office asking for stuff like like teas, coffees, cutlery, all this stuff. People going to work, people like just going out on the yard, people just going crazy, going into other cells, having conversations. Like it's literally, it just doesn't stop. It's constantly sound. And then you come out of the prison, get in your car. Some days I wouldn't even turn the radio on, man. Some days I wouldn't even listen to music. I'd be like, you know what? Silence is great. Silence is great. But that's the other thing. Like, it mentally exhausts you as well.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
And then when you get home, especially if you have a partner, it is difficult to then try and make conversation. Because you've been speaking all day for so long. And then you just want to get home and unwind. Yeah. But then you've got to realize that you've got someone at home.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. That's true.
And this is where, so you've got to kind of balance it out. And I think that's the difficult part about, being in that environment.
Yeah. I can only imagine, because I think it's a very much, I remember thinking to myself, I remember when I was just being a delivery driver, like I'd do that, I'd deliver around this local area, and sometimes I'd deliver to the Little Hague prison, and it was like, I remember it got to a point where sometimes, I don't think I'd recognize it for what it was. First, there were times where I'd get a little element of anxiety, because I remember the first time I went there, I'm delivering anywhere else, I just pulled straight up to the gate.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, what are you doing? I was like, I got a parcel. He's like, in what world are you? And he was so like, in his head he was thinking, are you some sort of an idiot? He couldn't even explain to me that, park over there, you idiot. Because it was cause in his head he's thinking to himself, again, he's a prison officer, so in his head he's thinking, right now you're creating a security risk. Yeah. Blocking up the gate, you're causing a problem right now. What are you doing? But I was like, all right, fair enough. And it was like a whole, I remember one of the times I went there, I don't know what happened. I think someone was either coming out, someone was going in. I don't know what it is. And there's I don't know what it's like where the prison you was at, but there's it was like a big massive door. Yeah. They open that one, you go in, they shut that, then there's another one.
Yeah. And then there's a security check in the middle, and then they let you through once they've checked you. Yeah.
And it was like, and I must have gone in there. So I've got my parcel, and they don't just do open, give you a part, no. Yeah. Open. I went in there, the shut door behind me, I'm thinking, and again, I'm black, so I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm way too close to any prison. I don't want to be, I never want to be this close to any prison. Do you know what I mean? I was there thinking, what if they just say, you're here now? Yeah. So they shut the door, and I was sitting there, I was sitting there thinking, I've got some parcel in my head, and I'm waiting, and I'm thinking to myself, just sign it, just let me out. And I think what happened was, someone was then coming in. I think there was because it was a Steve's taxi that was coming in. So I don't know if there was, there was a driver, there's a guy in the passenger seat, and the guy in the back who looked like his face wasn't all that happy. I'm assuming he was going in. Yeah. And they sort of did the whole process, but it was as far as me, the delivery driver, everything just stopped. Yeah. Because we're doing this, and there was no, oh, you can go outside. No, you're here. And I thought to myself, if something went left, in my head, I'm starting thinking about the film. If this guy decides to just break out, I'm not involved in this. But he let me know that even, I kind of had an idea that, there's, in jobs like this, you clearly go into a different world. Because I'm now, the safety is outside there, and this door's shut. Yeah. So if something went off now, I'm now involved in this situation. And I don't know how I'll react in this. I don't know what will happen. And again, it's one of them things where the first thing I thought to myself was, I remember when I thought to myself, I'll look for other jobs and any other, prison officer came up quite a lot. Yeah. But immediately I was like, nah, man, I couldn't voluntarily come into this. And it was and even just trying to I remember I was trying to explain to the guy, because that's it. I remember what we'd be delivering was, I think they were exam papers, because I think sometimes when they do qualifications and stuff like
They
that.
do a lot of qualifications. So
do you know what I mean? So it's not just someone ordered some trainers and they're like, oh, I want to, but these are things that they're important things that they need.
Yeah,
When I'm talking to the person that is behind the glass, and I'm and I remember I'm trying to like sort of explain to the guy like, yeah, I've got exam papers, this that, and the other. At that point, it was like, couldn't give a shit, mate. Shut up and wait. There is no, like right now, you are irrelevant because we've got a serious situation. And again, I don't know about you, but I'm always a person where if I'm in an environment, if you're cool, I'm cool.
Yeah.
If you're nervous, you're gonna make me nervous.
Yeah, facts.
So when I come in and initially it's like, oh yeah, then all of a sudden you go to what?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know what's happening. So yeah, man, I can imagine what is like. I can only imagine what you mean when you say it's mentally exhausting.
Yeah,
going in that environment, and then trying to go home and be like, "Oh, you are, baby, you doing blah blah blah."
Yeah.
It can only be a bit mad. So like
because now, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But like now, even still, like I have to sit behind a wall if we go out into a restaurant or anything. I have to have the wall behind me, and I need to know every exit area. I need to see them as well. Okay. If anything goes wrong, I just need to know how to get the hell out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was one of them things where when you're in the prison, always have your back to the wall if you're like just standing around. Never be like, never have a gap behind you. Yeah. Just in case, because you never know.
Jesus Christ.
And yeah, prisoners are just going. Like you're seeing them everywhere. Yeah. And you got to consider there's 4 officers. Where I was, there's 4 officers on the wing to 120 prisoners. So you've got, outnumbered. What's the point in life, right? Why do this to me? Anyway.
Terrible odds.
Do you know the amount of times?
Oh my days.
I remember the first day I got there and they were like, it's 4 officers to 120 prisoners. And I literally was like, nah. Like, what am I doing? That's 1 to every 30. That's 1 officer to every 30 prisoners.
Oh my God.
That's nuts.
That's an asshole for that's what that is.
Yeah. And it's even and the funny parts about it is like when people have problems on the wing as well, and you'll be like opening one cell door. So like you all get allocated like a wing basically, and you get like your floors. So I'm always on like the 2nd floor, for example. Yeah. And you'll unlock like door 1, 2, 3, 4, and then door 4 will fight door 2. So now you're like, then you have to like lock everyone back up. Then you have to say, right, don't open 2 and 4. So then you open 1, 3, 5, 6, 7. Number 7 is best friends with number 2, and number 5 is best friends with 4. All of a sudden they're fighting. You're like, oh Jesus Christ! So you gotta lock them up. Then you're like, don't open 2, 4, 5, and 7, and then you're just thinking. But then sometimes you'll forget that 5 and 7 like are meant to be locked up, and you'll just unlock them, and they'll just come back out and start fighting again. You're like, oh my Lord! Like it's just it's a nightmare. So sometimes it can take like an hour just to get everyone out.
Really?
Yeah.
So I can imagine like, and I guess it's this. So like with someone would hear you say all of that and say, well, surely now real estate must be flying through, it's a breeze. But obviously, when you're trying to do anything and sort of trying to take it to the next level, it's difficult. Like, do you feel like going from soldier to then prison officer and having to sort of understand what it is to sort of balance all that that kind of those, I guess, these different mindsets?
Yeah.
Do you feel like in a sense, do you think that's aided you in a sense of trying to, because I know initially you kind of was like because I think the real estate you do now, I think is somewhat quite different to the bog standard usual real estate that's like sort of the regular high street ones, in a sense of where you're selling different properties for one, like different caliber of properties. You know, so I can only imagine that, because I think what you're doing now, because is it an element you're self-employed?
Yeah. So self-employed.
When you first started, was you working for like an estate agent where you're? No. Or did you jump straight into it?
I jumped straight into it.
Did you?
I was nuts, by the way. That not many people do that.
Oh, so you didn't go down to sort of the regular.
No.
Right. Oh, okay.
No, not at all.
See, in my head, I was thinking that first you went to you just like a, regular, estate agent, this, that, and the other, like the regular high street ones, where you're more or less like an employee.
Yeah.
And you they tell you, go here, blah blah blah. So you went pretty much straight into.
I went straight in, like as in like. So I was at, when was it? It was like around December time, and I was in the prison service, and we just kept having like prisoners just going crazy. It was nuts. Like always having to get riot gear on every now and again, having to transfer prisoners from one cell to the next or taking them to seg. And I was just getting mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't think I can do this much longer. Like I'm tired of it now. Like it's killing me off.
Yeah.
And then me and my ex-partner, we just sat down and started watching like TV because this was during COVID, by the way.
Right.
So
okay.
there was a lot more watching TV because there was not much else to do. So yeah, I was watching a TV show called $1 Million List in New York.
Yes, I know.
And I was just fascinated. Like I literally watched season 1 to season 9
Is that the one with that
3
guy?
weeks. Ryan Serhan.
That's the guy.
Yeah. So it was his energy that got me into it.
Right, yeah.
Because
I watched that guy. I know you're talking about.
Literally, like, love everything that he was doing, and I was mimicking him, like, even just at the prison, like, just not really, like, obviously selling anything. There was nothing to freaking sell, but like, there was just his mindset, like, made my mindset like work, and it all just worked together. And I think the discipline that I had from the army and the mentality that I had from the prison service, and you know, putting everything together helped me realize that like there was obviously more out there.
Yeah.
And I could do it. So I actually originally, what was it? I went to Sharman Quinney. Have you ever heard of Sharman Quinney? So I went to Sharman Quinney and had a job interview there. And obviously I've been watching $1 Million List in New York. These commissions are nuts.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can sell like a £10 million house and make $100,000. So I'm like, what? Like, this is my life. You know what I mean? This is what I want. So yeah, I went to Sharman Quinney and had the interview. And she was like, what do you expect to make in your first year? And I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to be aiming for like the 50s, maybe the 60K just to get going. Like, and then we'll work from that. Yeah. And she was like laughing. I was like, what the hell are you laughing at? And then she said, you'll be lucky to make 18 grand in your first year.
Yeah.
And I literally looked at her and went, I'm sorry, what? Like 18 grand, that's it. And she was like, yeah. She was like, you'll be lucky. She was like, in your second year, maybe 25. And then when you get promoted, maybe 30. And I was like, this is not for me. This ain't for me. And so I went back and researched, and then I realized they're all self-employed agents.
Right.
And that's when I went, oh, okay, so I need to be self-employed. That's why I made the jump straight away.
Right, okay.
Because I said, you know what? I'd rather struggle at the beginning.
Yeah,
and suffer, if you know what I'm saying, and then get it going and then make more than be comfortable and not make too much and then eventually probably hate the job because I'm like, again, I'm in control again.
That's true, because I think, because you are right, because I think it's one thing if a job sucks because it sucks and you're an employee, but it's another thing. It's if you're in a situation and you're having to, like I said, you're in control, and if it turns out that it does suck, there's an element you can go, okay, what can I do different? Yeah. Whereas I feel like if you're just in a job and you're just like, this is just terrible. Do you know what I mean? There's an element that is completely out of your control. But whereas I think when you can sort of, because you can say to yourself, things aren't going such and such in some way because I've not put in X amount of work or I've not tried this sort of tactic or whatever it is. Yeah. So I can imagine let me just cut the middleman out. Go straight into carry on. Like in terms of, all right, so you've gone to Sharman Quinney.
Said 18 grand. I'll never forget that moment. I literally, because my face, I was happy as hell because I was like, oh, she's actually going to give me the job. This is amazing. And then she was like, you'll be lucky to make 18 grand. And I literally went, what? Like, what do you mean? 18 grand?
So what was it like? Because when it comes to like real estate and you're self-employed, how does it work? Because does it like so is it like, so is there a case of there's a company that can potentially represent you as you can say, okay, I'm associated with this company, but you then would you basically go to someone's, let's say there's like a sale sign somewhere, could you basically go, oh mate, I understand you're trying to sell your house, I can help you do that, blah 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 blah, and then just
so like you sign up with a brokerage. So basically what you do is you get your own limited company, create that, and then you associate that with a brokerage. So with me, now I'm with Luxury Property Partners. Okay. So that's the brokerage that I'm associated with. But I'm just a self-employed agent. I work when I want, how I want. Yeah. You know, do my own hours. as many listings as I want, as less listings as I want.
Yeah.
That's the best part about it, because before I get to your question, a lot of people, like Charmaine Quinney, all these type of agencies, they kind of, they're based on volume.
Right.
So agents have to get a certain amount of listings in order for them to keep their job.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So you've got to get like 5 listings a month. So the problem with that is that they don't really value your needs. That is more about them.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to your house, they're more likely to value it more. So you will go with them, and then they'll work you down.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That's how they do it. Because if you see it on Rightmove, Zoopla, you'll see a lot of houses just get reduced all the time until they hit a certain number that they know that the house is going to sell.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another thing that really threw me off as well, because I kind of got that gist from that interview as well, where it was like, you need to get this, otherwise, you're at risk of losing your job. Whereas with the self-employed role, it's take on as many listings as you want, be able to control it, and price it right so it sells. Because the incentive there is, for me, is that you're going to pay me, right?
Yeah.
To get your house sold. But I don't get paid unless I sell the house.
Yeah, exactly.
So I need to price it correct.
Exactly.
In order for me to, be successful in that. So, and I think that's the difference. And that's why I always say to people now, I encourage people to go to self-employed agents rather than the high street agents, because at least, even if they don't go with me, go with a self-employed agent, because they will get the job done.
Because the thing, and I think that's that thing, is that when you are self-employed, there's I don't know, there's just something in you that's gonna say, okay, let me when you're an employee and there's an element of, this is the bare minimum, you're mostly just like, I'm gonna do the bare minimum. Because all you're trying to do is make sure you don't get fired and that you do get paid. But when you're self-employed, there's an element of, one, you're always wondering whether you've done enough.
Yep.
And there's always the element you're always gonna try, and especially the fact that because if you're the sort of person that will take the step to go into self-employment, I think you're naturally gonna be a case of, let me try and do the best I can, because you're always kind of thinking to yourself, like, one, of course you don't want to not get paid, and you understand that there is no safety net.
Absolutely.
So I think if you're trying to sell your house, the person who's more or less seems like their life depends on it, they're gonna work the hardest.
Exactly.
Versus the other person that's like, I've got a safety net and I'm doing my bare minimum, and so I'll do what I can, but I'm not gonna go above and beyond to try and, because again, if you are I'm assuming if you go with a self-employed, I forgot what's the name of your job again? Real estate.
Yeah.
If you go with self-employed,
real estate.
If you go with someone who's self-employed, then it is a case of, if I win, you win. And if you lose, I lose as well. So then I'm gonna try my hardest to make that happen.
Absolutely.
So like, okay, so because this is the other thing as well. Even when you're talking about that show $1 Million Listing, I think me and my missus watched it a little bit, and I think I've caught a lot of it on YouTube. It's on there, because it seems to me like the like selling houses is kind of like, it's kind of evolved from what it was before, in a sense that, so potentially you could have 5 people trying to sell the same house. And there's almost an element of, it's no longer just, and I guess this is happening throughout society, it's not just come look at the house, see if you like it. It's almost the person that's showing you the house, you need to like, there's an element that I need to like them as well, because if I don't like you, there's an element, for some reason, that's going to impact how I feel about the house. Like if I come to see a real nice house and the estate agent show me around, it hasn't showered for weeks, I'm gonna just be thinking about it and thinking, Jesus, I'm not gonna, do you know what I mean? So there's an element like, in terms of like, have you sort of, because again, like, and again, I think when you're talking about sort of, you do have that thing where, as far as your personality is, people kind of gravitate to you. I think you are. I use this term in the last podcast with Session. I think you are a little bit of a social butterfly as well. You can sort of just mingle with people in that sense. So I can only imagine when you are sort of engaging with people, when you're trying to, whether you're meeting them to sell their house or you're showing somebody to try and buy the house. There is that element where you can just sort of you can get these people to feel a bit comfortable, so they can just, hey, look,
Yeah.
come see the house, blah, this and the other.
Yeah.
Have you? Do you feel like in what you're doing now, you're able to kind of really just let go and be Terrell in a sense of, because again, like I said, selling houses now, and especially kind of selling the houses that you're trying to sell now, are quite high caliber, and it's a case of, because the house that you're selling, if someone's coming to buy those houses, money is clearly not an option, not an issue.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
do you know what I mean? So it's a case of, if I'm coming to look at this house, I can afford
They can definitely afford it.
Yeah. So
and most of them nowadays are cash buyers as well, which you're like, what?
Really?
Like, how?
That's
what are you doing?
That's what I was going to ask you. Actually, yeah. That's the other thing as well. With the houses that you're selling, because they're like 6 figures plus. Like, I was going to ask you that. Is that a case of, are people still doing mortgages there, or because when I'm hearing, because the thing is, me and my missus, we were going to buy a house, and the deal ended up being really crap. But it was, the mortgage was going to be, it was like shared ownership, and it was going to be, we weren't even borrowing anything more than 100 grand. But the term was like 25 years.
Yeah.
So when I hear like, £1 million house plus, in my head, the mortgage is just, so is it a case of, are people still doing mortgages, or is it pretty much
most people have now like got businesses, like especially young people as well, got really good businesses and make a lot of money from it.
Really?
So you see these TikTokers making, well, the successful ones are making a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
And a lot of people nowadays don't actually need mortgages. Don't get me wrong, there's still people out there that will go for a £5 million house but get a mortgage. And I sit back and go, that's mental. Just go to a £2 million house if that's the case. You know what I mean? But like, some people are like, I can afford it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what do you do with it? What career are you in? But a lot of the time, it's a retired people.
Really?
A lot of retired people sell their business and then they go, you know what, I'm going to live the luxury life. And you go, yeah, fair play.
Oh, shit.
Like, started their business on like £36. Really? Literally opened a business for £36 and now it's worth
and they just
4 or 5 million. And they just go, yeah, we're just going to sell it and then relax. And you're like, wow. Like, to be back in the days where it only cost you like 30 quid to start a business, and now you can sell it for this amount. Like, it's nuts.
No, that's
because like the house that I just sold in Peterborough.
Yeah.
The buyers literally selling their business and then they're selling their house as well. And I can't say the number that they've got, but it's nuts.
Really?
I was like, how? And they started off with like 50 quid. That was it.
Because I think the other thing as well, like, because in terms of where you mainly just operate around, like, only like this area.
No, the whole UK.
Really?
UK, yeah. So we've got we're a really small group. So you'll see a lot of self-employed companies. The first one that I started off with, for example, will get as many people as they can because they'll charge a monthly subscription.
Oh, okay.
So the more money they get in, the more money they make, obviously. So the more agents they get, the more money they make. Whereas the one that I'm with now, very focused on making the agent the person. So they don't worry about that until you make your first sale.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we've got a really small group and we're all over the UK, but we all kind of work together and by ourselves. So we always promote everybody's listings, for example. So for example, say if you got a listing today, you would arrange an agent day and we would go to that listing and all the agents will get their content there, get it all out to their social medias as well as everybody else's, and it literally, that's the main goal for us, is to make your property famous, because that's the goal. Because the more people that see it, the more likely you are to find that buyer.
Yeah, true.
And especially in the market that we're in now, it's a tough market. You need to just promote the property as much as possible. And you need it to be as like on the eyes of everybody, as many people as you possibly can. And that's the difference between us. We just get it out to as many people as possible, and that's the reason why we managed to sell the properties in this market. Like, and we're still selling them over asking price as well. Because there's a lot of agencies that are just not selling, or they're selling under asking price.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I think at the moment, like, house prices are kind of low a little bit. And in terms of like, because I was going to ask you that, does that, like, because you're kind of, because you're not working with kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, like regular houses,
Yeah.
Is it an element where because you're kind of working with properties at the higher end, is there an element that the things that tend to sort of affect the regular sort of, is it a case of, are you guys kind of outside that bubble, or do the same problems or issues that, you know, affect the market as a whole, do they sort of still impact even at a luxury sort of level as well?
It does affect it. I always say that, like, there's always someone out there that's looking to buy, because someone is always trying to sell, which means they're always looking to buy.
Right. Okay.
So it just becomes harder. So you just got to work harder.
Right.
But this is the difference between the high street agent and the self-employed agent, as we've mentioned.
Yeah.
The high street agent won't adapt to the market. They'll still say it's worth such and such, even though it's not worth that amount. Whereas we will just say, listen, we have got to adjust. We've got to look at the market, see what number your property is worth, and we'll get it out there. And then literally you know what? You know the easiest way to put it, right?
Yeah.
Just go with a self-employed agent. I ain't got time for this, right? I'm sorry, Phil. I'll just tell you for a second, right? Because the amount of times I have to talk to people about this, and I'm like, honestly, just go with a self-employed agent. I don't even care if you don't go with me. Just go with a self-employed agent, because I see so many grafting, like, self-employed agents that get no success, and then I see high street agents that don't even try, but because they got a name, they get it.
I think it's that thing, isn't it? It's that, like, there's because so much time, I think people don't know. I think this is with anything and everything. I think most of the time people don't really know what is a. If you said to someone, "Oh, what's a good estate agent or what's a bad estate?" I don't think they could tell you.
They couldn't.
So for the most part, it's just like, let me just go with what I think is good, or what is known. Let me just go with that. And I think it is that thing of, and I think this is where I think an episode like this, I think, will be helpful and insightful to anybody that sort of they are trying to sell their house.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm not really too sure, because, I mean, I remember when I see an advert. I've seen it before, like, for that Purple Bricks one.
Purple Bricks, yeah.
So, like, and
with Mo Gilligan.
Yeah. And it was like, and their whole thing is like, sell your house online, this, that, and the other. And I remember I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, I never thought that you could go, like, I always thought, if I'm going to sell my house, I'm just going to go to any estate agent, say this is I'm selling it for, and they're selling that. That's it. I never thought there'd be I never thought I'd have to sort of be like, let me try and find the right estate agents to try and.
Yeah.
Did you know what I mean? I never thought that sort of thing would apply when it comes to selling a house. Like, like when you go to buy clothes.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, now if I go buy from this particular brand, the clothes fit this way. If I buy from this brand, the clothes fit that way.
Yeah.
I never thought that same sort of thing could apply
to an estate agent.
Do you know? I never at all. I just thought, it's the same house, the same, like.
Yeah. And this is what I always say as well, because some people will go, oh well, my friend went with this estate agent and they managed to sell our house, and I go, that's great, but that worked for your friend.
Yeah, exactly.
But you've got a different house.
Yeah.
And you're a completely different person. This person might not be right for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't like to always say it, but it actually works nowadays. I always say, get 2 or 3 agents in.
Really?
And
get them
literally just work, like, listen to the agent and listen to their vision. And if they don't have a good vision, that's where you eliminate them. Because a lot of agents nowadays, I had to do it with my house.
Yeah.
I had to get 3 agents that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I had to bring them in so they can value my house. And I had all 3, and all 3, there was only one guy that I really went, you know what, he's pretty good. Even though he was like high street agent, I thought, you know what, he's really good now, and if he went self-employed, I think he'd be fantastic. You know what I mean? So it's all about finding an agent for you who's going to do the job to get your property sold, and not the name, because the name doesn't always work. And a lot of agents will always say that they've got a black book full of people. They've got this, they've got that. And I always say, if they got a black book full of people, then if they've got a black book full of, like, people that are looking at your type of house. How comes, like, they haven't come to you sooner? Sorry.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like, how comes they haven't come to you sooner? And I always say it's one of the tactics that a lot of people use. Oh, we've got buyers that are looking for your property, and instantly people go, oh yeah, let's go review.
And then, they're gonna say that, aren't they? Like,
yeah.
What else are they gonna say? Well, I don't want to say a house. I ain't got nothing at all. Bro.
Yeah.
Come on, man, do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna. If I don't have anything, I'm not gonna tell you that. I'm gonna say, do you know what I mean? So I can.
Yeah, absolute facts. Because then I love it when like you go to the house 3 months later and you go, where's that black book full of buyers? Did they come through? And they're like, no, we've only had one person come through. And I'm like, yep, the tactic worked again. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it's just, and this is not me trying to bash anybody, by the way, because I'm not hating on anyone's tactics. If that's gonna get you a listing, get it on. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think estate agency now, especially in the real estate game, it's now all about the people and not about just trying to get a listing. It's about what does that person need, what does that person want, and how can I provide that service?
Yeah. No, I think I completely understand, because I think I think that same thing sort of, I think like in terms of what you're talking about, in terms of sort of, so like when someone wants to sell their house, and the market does change, in the case of, okay, let's now adapt with the market rather than just try and keep selling this dream that you had.
Yeah.
I think that same thing kind of, I think it applies in anything. I remember I had a similar thing when it was when I first started personal training. I remember the question I kept hearing all the time was, what supplements you said? What supplements? And I was like, and I kept trying to explain to people, like, okay, just forget about that for a second, because even with the supplements, you're still gonna need to be disciplined. You're still gonna have to do all this other work. But they kept asking me as if to say, and I remember one guy was like, yeah, what supplements do you take? I was like, I tried one, but they're not really my thing. He's like, yeah, but tell me what one you took. Yeah. And I was like, okay, it was this one. And that's all he took away from the whole, like, from the time we're there. And again, it's that thing of, I think people have an idea of what they'd like. And I think if they then get somebody who they feel like, if I've got an idea of what I think it takes to get in shape, and then there's someone who's a personal trainer or a fitness professionalist, and they can confirm that, then absolutely I'm going to be over the moon, because there's an element, because I don't want you to tell me that no, what you thought, you're absolutely wrong. You're a borderline idiot for even considering it. You need to actually do this other thing that I definitely don't want to do. So I think it's that thing of, if I'm going to go sell my house, and then my estate agent says to me, I said to my estate agent, I want this price, and initially they go, all right, okay, and then the market changes. The last thing I want them to come and tell me is, we have to go a bit lower. If there's another estate agent that's going to say to me, no, mate, keep it the same, don't worry about it. Of course I'm going to go with them, because that's what I want to hear. And especially if you're the estate agent, it's almost like I want to believe that. But again, it's a case of there's hearing what you want and what's actually reality, what's actually going to take place. And reality is, if we don't adapt with the market, you're not going to sell your house. So there's an element of, what's the goal here? Do you want me to just blow smoke up your ass, or do you want me to sell your house?
And that's the issue that I think a lot of self-employed agents have now, is because once a high street agent goes in with a high number, really hard to adjust to that number that it's actually going to sell for.
No, I can only imagine, as you said, especially if it's, because it's almost as if like, because they have that name, it's almost a case of, because they're backed by the high street name, if they say something, it kind of like almost makes it a fact that if then the self-employed one says, even if they might be more right, and they go, I'm not sure about that, I can only imagine you kind of then have to do sort of damage control in the sense of trying to sort of bring that person back down to sort of, no, this is where you kind of really need to be. In a sense. But
it's even like some self-employed agents will panic when they're in like a market appraisal. They'll panic and they'll go back to their old routes. Just to get a listing. I've seen a lot of self-employed agents with listings for months.
Really? That's what I was going to ask. How long does it actually, in reality, if I try to sell my house, how long is it going to take? Like, in terms of, so if I put my house up in January, what's the reality of it? And I say whatever price it is I'd like. Let's say it's not on the low end, not on the really high end, but just reasonable. Like, in reality, how long is it really going to take me to sell it? Like,
so the aim is to get it done within 27 days, 30 days. But realistically, it varies on house to house. To be honest, it can vary on house to house. It's all about how you present your house as well. If there's not a lot of work to do, your house is obviously more attractive. Therefore, you get more people in, sells quicker.
Yeah.
If your house needs work, or if people are not really looking for a project home, it does take a lot of convincing.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of convincing. I'd say on the high end market. And what we do, we have it where we have an open house rather than viewings.
Oh, okay. That's where most people can just come and just have a look.
Yeah.
Right.
So we create a competitive environment.
Yeah, because if you know Susie's coming to look at it as well.
Yeah.
Thinking, I don't want to do that. Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So what we do is
pit people against each other.
Oh yeah, that's the best way to do it. It's the best way. Honestly, you literally have it on the market for like 21 days, 27 days, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That weekend, have the open house, invite everyone there. Literally, the first thing I do is I always look for the most emotional person. So if someone walks in and goes, "Oh my God, this house," I'm like, that's the person I'm going to first. Because I know that means like they're going to be, if they're into the house and they're really showing it, I'm like, right, he's going to be the one to put the offer in. So then I can walk around to everybody else that's like, yeah, I really like it, I want it. I can go, great, got an offer already. So, you know what I mean?
That's me. I'd do like, if there's some people in the kitchen or whatever it is, I'll just be shouting shit that people can hear. All right, man, I'll get the paperwork.
So, that's what I thought I was going to be like, you know. When I first started, I thought I was going to be like, so you put in an offer. Great. Did everybody hear that? Right, you.
Like, so
do you want one too? Oh, look, now he put in an offer. Then you just like them freaking, what are they? Like 23, 24, 25, 25.
That's how houses work, man. Paperwork.
I wish that was the thing. I'd be like 25, 45.
I think that's a good tactic actually. If you get people to sort of, because it is a thing. I remember when me and my missus went to go. We were gonna move at one point. We were gonna rent somewhere else. And when we went to go and have a look at the house.
Yeah.
It was quite a nice house, to be fair. When we came to look, there were some people that I remember thinking to myself, this guy must have a big family. And like, none of you look alike. But it was other people that also had just finished looking at the house.
Oh, okay.
And so naturally, immediately, and it was one of them things. It was like, it was a pretty good tactic because I'm one of them people. Like, I'm not really that I'm not an emotional person in the sense of if I really like something, I'm gonna be like, oh, I have to get it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Unless it's food. But but as soon as we left, it seemed to me like the logical thing to do was to contact the estate agents as we're on the way home and tell them we want it. Yeah. Like in my head, I was like, well, if we don't,
the other guy's gonna do it.
So it's one of them things where, so I think that, to be fair, I think that is a good, and again, I think it also sort of, it weeds out any time wasters, because
facts.
If someone is gonna, and I think even for the people that are trying to buy, even for them, if they go there and they're like, so and so wants, they can see other people are interested in it. If they're still like, meh, it will let them know, you know what, I'm not actually that into this house. Let me just what do you call it. But I think if somebody else was on the fence and they do see that other people will do it, because I think it's that thing of, if you feel like you have time, you feel like you won't be worried about it. But if you understand on some level that the pressure is on, that somebody else wants to get it, it will kind of let them know as well. Like, you know what, actually, I do actually really want this house, and I'm gonna find out just how much I really do want it. Yeah. Let me now act, because I think sometimes if people feel like they don't have to, then they won't, because in their head they're like, it's there.
And you know what's even worse as well? Like, some of the houses are like an hour and a half away. So imagine driving an hour and a half for someone to come in and go, nah, it's not for me. You just sat there like, do you know what I mean? You're like, mate, like,
it's a waste. That's the thing. It's a waste of everyone's time, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's always good to like have it on one day. Yeah. Have everybody in that area. Mm-hmm. Let everyone see that other people are interested.
Yeah.
And boom, you can just keep driving that price up.
Yeah, that's true.
Because all you need is that first offer. Once you get the first offer, we then do like a 2-week thing where we just have 2 weeks of negotiations. We just call everyone that's been there, let them know there's an offer. If you are interested, this is the deadline. Yeah. Let us know. If there's no offers in, then we present it to the client. And then we go from there. Literally. So yeah, it's one of them tactics where we don't give you a number that we think your house will sell for. Yeah. It's more of, the market's going to tell you what your house is
exactly,
going to sell for, and this is the numbers that we've got. Is this a number that you're happy with?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I think it is, and to be fair, I feel like I feel like that thing is like it's a tactic, but I feel like I think it's the only tactic you need.
Yeah.
Really. I think it's what makes sense.
Yeah.
You all like the house, come on the same day, all come and have a look. So do you know what I mean? So that way, I'm not, because if I'm there, I'm one of them people, like, if I go to view something and then you tell me someone else wants to buy it, I'm not going to believe you.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to think you're just bullshitting me.
Yeah.
So it's better for me if I can see exactly what you're saying, in the sense of, no, this is actually pretty popular. This is, other people are interested in this. Yeah. And I'm not just trying to gas you up to, what do you call it? So, and, in terms of, and also it lets the other person know what it is they're actually looking to buy, that it is, it is a high-end product in that sense. But like, one of the things I want to, so like, right, so you're now self-employed. You're a self-employed, luxury property agent. What is for you in terms of like the end goal, and do you even have an end goal, or are you just kind of just trying to feel your way through the situation in a sense of, let me just try and let me get this listing, then let me just go into the next listing and then see where it goes.
So I had a goal, and it keeps changing.
Right.
Because before it was just be self-employed, get as many listens as possible, make a load of money, retire early. That was the plan.
Yeah.
Now there's so much more. Now I'm like, no, actually, you know what? I want to build a team. I want to like eventually build a team, maybe of 3 or 4 agents that I can mentor and guide.
Yeah.
And build around the UK. Mm-hmm. There's so much. I want to like, just take over realistically.
Yeah.
But
because the thing is,
I think at the beginning as well. Sorry to cut you off, but at the beginning as well, I wanted to just be in competition with everyone as well.
Right.
I wanted to be that guy who was like, no, it's just me and I just want to win. Whereas now I've looked at a lot of things and I actually like to give advice out and like to mentor people as well. I think I want to go down that route as well.
Well, this is the thing I was going to say. Nowadays, because of the internet, because of like, social media and stuff like that, you can make so many things from one thing. So for example, you could be a real estate agent and there's the selling of the houses, but then you can also make a revenue from, filming the content in terms of showing the place on like, because I remember, what is it? I think there's that couple called Matt and Summer.
So they're part of Luxury Property Partners.
Yes, because I remember I saw and I saw like, because I remember for a while in terms of like sort of, I'm one of the people, I love looking at houses.
Yeah.
Especially houses I can't afford. I'll watch them all day, bro. Do you know what I mean? So like, I remember that for like a couple of years ago, I was like, just if you went on my YouTube, it's just Matt and Summer. Like I was watching them all. Because so there's the element of like, you can make money from selling the house itself. Then you can make money from just showing the house around, just showing the house, like building a channel around that. And then, as you said, there's now mentoring, because sometimes it's a case of, as you said, sort of this advice that you're giving people in a sense of, go with a self-employed agents and things like that. Not everybody knows these things, so you can always sort of, like I said, you can make like a success out of so many different ways from just this one thing. So I can understand what you mean when you say the goal keeps changing. I can only imagine every time you do one thing, and then it is successful, then you're like, oh wait, I can do this and that as well. So it's the element. I can only imagine. Yes, I can see what you're saying when you're saying like the goal does keep changing in a sense.
It's tough as well, because you always have like that tunnel vision of this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And then when you realize, that's not what the only thing I want to do, you kind of go, no, now I've got to change it up again, and then it's an adjustment. But like, I actually love it now. Like now when like I get a new goal, I'm like, actually, no, this is great. Like, because now I'm opening the doors.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is with the Luxury Home Show as well, the Luxury Home Show literally started from Matt and Summer getting their own phone, knocking on someone's door and just saying, can I film your home? That was it. And now they've got, over 500,000 subscribers. Their videos keep getting like millions upon millions of views. And they're really successful now. Like, but that's the thing, their goal wasn't that at the beginning.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they've got this this platform that's absolutely killing the game.
Because even that sort of showing off a house in a sense. Again, in my head, because the thing is, like in my head, it's a case of like the way Matt and Summer show, the way they show off a property. even when I watched some of your shows, when you're sort of going around, sort of like it was a little thing that you did. Like I think there's one of the, I think it was a house in Peterborough.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
had like a it had like a study, and you just went in there, and you just sat in a chair and that. Because of course, when you do look at a house, you think of these things.
Yeah,
What would I do in that room? What would I do in that room? What would I? Because I like to like especially when there's like I think there's one of the things you said, like, you know, what's my favorite room in there? What do you call it? These are of course questions that people aren't even realizing they're asking themselves when they're watching it.
Yeah.
And again, it is that thing of you're like, when you ask it, you're like, oh yeah, I was thinking of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's one of them things where it wouldn't even be. I never thought again that there'd be a other ways to do these things, because I've seen some other people sort of show up houses, and I'm like, you showed half the room. What are you doing, bro? Like, what's behind there? They'll literally just go, yeah, closet. And I'm like, what are you, do you know what I mean? But then, and again, it seems to be like there's a niche way to sort of, or I'm not going to say niche, but there's the right way to kind of, to do it. And this is where, of course, depending who you're with, whether it's just sort of, whether they're just showing the house or they're going to sell the house for you, because it is an element like, if you went with someone that the energy, when you're talking about, you know, when you hear their vision, things of, you know, how you're going to try and sell my house. If you go with someone that is, their energy is a bit low, there's an element that when they do go to show the house to the potential buyers, they're potentially not going to project.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas and then the buyer's is going to be like, oh, well, fuck it then, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know the amount of people that like will go through a house and they'll talk to an agent and they'll take them around the house, and you can see the energy is just drained out of them because that agent is not presenting the house, and you're like, come on, like, give them something. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's funny that you mentioned that, because on that video that I did on the Luxury Home Show, literally, it's all about selling the lifestyle of the house.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So you've got to give them the vision, because like I mentioned in the kitchen, like you can wake up to your morning coffee and then you can see this view outside, and this is what you're going to see every day.
Exactly, yeah.
Rain, winter, snow, summer, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to see this. And that's something that, like, I don't think people would appreciate unless obviously they come to the property. But before going to the property, you're only going to see photos. You know what I mean? And you're not really, you'll go, oh, that's a nice view. But if you can show them through video, like, this is really what you're going to see, it just makes a whole, makes a difference.
Well, I think you are right, because there's been a time where, like, I remember when we went to go look at, when you, like, new builds. When you see pictures of new builds, you're like, oh, it's quite nice. But then, and again, you know in your mind, these things are tiny. Yeah. But you tell yourself, yeah, nice. And then you go there and you just like, you literally, you go in one room, or you go in on the landing or whatever it is, and you turn, there's one room, you turn, there's another, and it's literally like, the walkway is literally like 2 steps. Yeah. You take 2 steps and you're basically on the other end of the house. And it's like, but again, with the pictures, when you're looking at pictures, you're not really necessarily, you're not realizing just how small this place is. Yeah. And I think I remember when I was like, when we went and looked at a house, we looked at the measurements, the floor plans, we started measuring, and we're like, oh yeah, that's a pretty good size on this end. And then when we actually went there to look at it, I was like, this is fucking shit.
Tiny.
Because it was just tiny. So I can like, I think that as well, when you're doing the video show rounds, and you're kind of, again, you're showing them the lifestyle, they can then kind of get a feel of that and be like, yes, that's exactly what I want. I want a nice view when I'm having my morning coffee. I want to be able to just look outside my window and just be like, thank God I've got this view, sort of thing. So I think, I think if you, and again, you think to yourself, when it comes to saying luxury properties, it's almost just a given. Like, in your head, you think to yourself, like, it's almost like, you know, if you're going to sell a Bentley, surely you just say it's a Bentley. Yeah, you go, mate, crack on. You know what I mean? It's almost like, what's the use for a test drive, because it is a Bentley. But as you said, there is that element of there's more to that, because again, it is a case of what kind of lifestyle you're looking for. You know, if it's a house in the country, is it that, you know, that country, like that quiet sort of peaceful living, or, you know, and if it is an apartment in the city, is it that sort of jet setting sort of lifestyle that you're looking for, sort of thing?
Facts.
So I can see. And again, I think as you said, it helps a lot if the listing is very far away from whoever it is that wants to buy it. It allows them to be able to sort of almost see it before, without having to travel all that far away.
Yeah.
That if they then go, you know what, I really like what I see, I'm gonna make that journey because
Facts.
if what I see is confirmed, absolutely, I'm gonna put in an offer and buy it.
Absolutely,
So, yeah.
because there's a lot of the times as well, you'll see pictures of the property
Yeah.
and it'll be smaller in pictures than what it is in person.
Yeah.
So on that Peterborough listing, if you look at the open planning, that kitchen dining area, living area, it's actually it looks small in that picture.
Yeah.
To be fair. But then when you come in and you see how like spacious it is and
it's like a lot.
the high ceilings, and then you just got this bifold that goes from one side to the other, and everything's just there, you go, holy crap, like this is massive. Like it's actually really big, and it's shocking to people when they come in because they go, it looks smaller in the pictures, and I go, I know, this is why like we did the video, and this is why we always say come to the property and see it in person.
Yeah, because it's interesting because like I've seen some houses where they've took the picture, but they've just taken the picture just of the house.
Yeah.
And they've not got none of the driveway in, and I think to myself, and some like the one house that's quite close to here, and I'm like, that if they took a picture of the whole drive, that would sell it more because it looks as if it's in a cramped area. It's just sort of you've just taken that picture of that. So there's an element that there's, and again, these are the things that these are the factors that go into sort of selling a house to somebody, because of course, because a lot of the times, if I've seen when I look at houses, my first thing is to be like, okay, if I was to, because the thing is as well, like I feel like when you're gonna go buy a house, especially if you're at a point where like you have whatever money to buy whatever house, there's that element of I don't want to have to move a gazillion miles away from where my life is right now. So if I'm really, the ideal situation is I'd love to stay exactly where I am and have my dream home, but which is a very difficult thing to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Absolutely. It will be a case of if you can come across a house that might not quite be what you'd love it to be, but if there's potential, you can turn it into that.
Exactly.
And you can, because that's the other thing as well. I guess you're selling the potential, especially if you have funds to be able to be like, look, if you want to make reservations, there's scope for that. You can absolutely. You can turn it into whatever it is you like. So I can see the sort of that whole video sort of show round thing. Is such a powerful tool.
So powerful
when it comes to selling, especially, and again, it opens you up to kind of the whole country rather than just the local people that sort of can get there within time.
Yeah, absolutely. You can literally. Social ads are like key at the minute as well, because you can literally type in, UK and interests, Zoopla, Rightmove, house shows, home selling, whatever. All these people that are looking on these things, and then you can put money in, and then bam, it will literally go to them. So you can literally put your property on social media, and it will go to people that are looking on Rightmove, looking on Zoopla, looking at house selling or estate agencies or whatever. Like it will literally. It's weird because obviously it knows what your phone's looking at, which I think is creepy. I still think that's creepy, 100%. But like it's getting to you. So facts. And that's another way that we find a lot of home sellers as well. Because a lot of home sellers will see us through social media and they'll go, oh, like you're doing something different. My agent's not doing that. Yeah. Like, what do you do? Like, talk to me. Do you know what I mean?
You know, it's interesting, because the way the world is, sort of changing, there's going to be an element that eventually the high street companies are going to have to sort of start to adapt to the way that the self-employed estate agents are moving in terms of using social media and things like that, because of course that's where the world is at now. Like, as the new generation comes up, they're going to be people that have grown up on social media, so that's where they're going to go to try and find whatever they need, sort of thing.
Absolutely, facts.
Rather than going into the high street or this or the other. Yeah. So I think there's an element of, I think it is good that sort of you guys are able to sort of really utilize that tool, because the world is going that way anyway. Eventually, these other companies that the name, and the thing is by the time, and again, if these companies don't work quickly, by the time they do make that transition, if you guys have kind of stayed on point, you guys will be social media will be the equivalent to the high street now, rather than
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it will be a case of you guys will be the known name on social media, because I've noticed, I said this to you when we sort of talk about doing the episode. I can see that you're now making like somewhat of a presence on social media.
Yeah,
in the sense
yeah.
that if it comes to a case of, you know, someone thinking about selling a house or buying a house, they can potentially think of Terrell.
Yeah,
And be like, oh yeah, that guy. That guy does so and so. And again, and I think the good thing with houses are, because you can get multiple people going to the same house, there is an element that if you see this one person showing their house around, it's nothing to also see somebody else showing the house around in the same way as well. So, and again, I think because of course people are different and have different energies, there is that element that you can still sort of, and I think that's what interests me the most, that two people can show off the exact same product and only one of them can sell it. That's something in itself. Do you know what I mean? In my head, I've been thinking, okay, well, you're saying it. Do you know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have thought there's any more I could say that you can't say.
Yeah.
But nah, man, I think it's like, honestly, like as I said, bro, I can't wait to see sort of where you take it to, in a sense of like in terms of the mentorship, in terms of sort of trying to get the, you know, I just said $10 million listing. And again, and the fact that, like I said, you skip that middleman of, let me not be the employee, let me just go straight to working for myself, and just utilizing all those different mindsets you had to be in, from the army to working in the prison office, and just sort of utilizing them in the best way to be able to sort of really sort of make this thing flourish. I think it'll be something to see, man. I think it'll be a dope sort of. I can't wait to see the vision. I think.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
It'll be dope, man.
But there's one thing that I do want to say, because I always get this question a lot.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know, it'd be good to put it on this as well.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people say to me, like, how do you like schedule everything, and how do you keep up, and why do you never look stressed? Now, don't get me wrong, stress is hell. It is a stressful job, I ain't gonna lie, especially being self-employed. But one thing I have always said to people now is focus on the things that you can control and let go of the things that you can't.
Absolutely.
Because when I first started, I focused so hard on the things that I couldn't control, and it made such a mess at the beginning that I couldn't see the vision. I started getting into my thoughts of like, I can't do this. Like, why am I doing this? I'm just going to go back to a normal employed job, like, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
call back Shaman Quinny.
Yeah, I might have to call Shaman Quinny. Might have to, you know what I mean? Go to these agencies, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But something switched in my head where literally I've only just began to figure this out as well in the last year or so. But I literally focus on things that I can control, and I don't get stressed out. Because I know I can control them. And I put it into my everyday life now as well. If I can't control it, and like it's out of my hands, I just go, okay, cool. Like push it to the side until it comes back up where I can now be in control of the situation.
There's an element like you kind of have to, can't you? Because I think especially like I said, when you are sort of self-employed, you're trying to sort of get something off the ground. There's an element you can't waste. Because I think when you're self-employed, I think your biggest thing is time.
Time is important.
Thinking about deciding what it is you're going to spend your time on. And I think if you spend a lot of your time worrying about the things that you there's not much you can do about at all. It's just the things that do need your attention that you can change, that they're going to end up taking the hit. And I think, and again, for the most part, I think mentally, if you can't sort of find a way to just sort of, let me just try and, I don't know, man. I think you are gonna just be like, you know what? Let me just go back to get a normal job. And you're gonna. I think that's what separates the people that are sort of that succeed and fail, in a sense of the ones that can stick out the longest whilst you're in that period of uncertainty of, am I doing the right thing? Can I do this? Can I, what do you call it? And I think this is where because that safety net starts looking, my comfy, bro. You start thinking, and again, I think that is where. I think if you can get past that bit and of like wanting that safety net, I think that's where you really that sort of just flourish.
Because I've got to tell you about the first time the money went out of my account when I started the self-employed. So you know, like your monthly bills when you're like employed. You're like, yeah, it goes out, and then I just get whatever I want. So when I left and I was self-employed and the first month's wage came out, and I just remember looking at my account, right? And I was like, whoo, even look behind my phone. I was like, where has that gone? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was so scared, and I literally, and that's where the things that I can't control, kicked in, because instantly I went, whoa, I need to be on this, because if not, I'm gonna quickly see this keep dropping. So like, and then the things that you usually do, like just go out and get a coffee, you then start thinking, do I go out and get a coffee? Do I want that coffee? Or do I just go to Tesco and grab the Nescafe and just make one? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that just go through your head, and that's something that, like, I just want to say to people, like, it does get better. Yeah. And even agents or anybody that's self-employed at the moment that is going through that phase of, I can't do it, like, find a way to get out of that. Yeah. And literally just be consistent and just continue growing. And eventually you will see that it will all be worth it in the long run, because there was many a times where I thought I was going to quit, and I'm still here. So, because
the other thing I want to ask you as well, like, before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, like, in terms of, so you mentioned like your ex-partner, and I remember I spoke to you and you sort of that kind of, when did you break up?
End of November-ish, close to beginning of December sometime.
So in sense of like, one, I'll say to you in terms of, I remember having a conversation with you, and I said to you, like, there's an element of when you're going, when you first said to me, like, okay, I'm gonna be, you know, well, when you started telling me about your whole journey as a real estate agent, in terms of what you wanted to do when we last met up at, I think it was Nando's, I think it was.
It was, yeah.
It was a time when we took that picture.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to you, like, there's going to be an element of, this is going to be really tough when you're trying to sort of get this going, and it will be a testament for your relationship if it can survive that, because there's going to, especially if she's just like, oh no, just get a job and let's just kind of do this thing, because, and I remember saying to you, like, if you go down the route of, because if you go down the route of, okay, let's go get married, let's go have kids and the other, that it's gonna put a strain on you, in a sense of, okay, because you're gonna have to start making sacrifices. At the very least, it's gonna prolong what it is you're trying to do, because you're gonna, other things will have to sort of go on the back burner a little bit. Now, do you feel like as if, like, in terms of you going at it solo, is, like, how does it feel going at it solo? Do you still feel like, you know, I kind of wish so and so is still here with me, or is it an element of, it was kind of supposed to go this way anyway, because I don't think I'd have been able to, because I need to just, because my at this moment, whilst I'm trying to build this, my time is on my own.
Yeah. So I feel like, I always self-admit it, I feel like I made that relationship terrible towards the end. Like, because I literally focused on nothing but work. Yeah. And I felt like I kind of, like, you know, it was my fault at the end of the day. I kind of neglected, kind of just wanted to focus on me and get things going. Yeah. But then there was that pressure of, obviously, you've got a partner, so you've got to make time, you've got to do this and do that. And I think on that end, like, I'll take responsibility in that breakup. Yeah. But since being out of that breakup, the first thing that I said when we first broke was, okay, that's something I can't control, let it go. Yeah. And I haven't looked back, and I've now realized that actually it was kind of good for me, because it's actually made me have to work alone. And now I've figured out myself, and I'm still learning. Like, you're always going to learn about yourself every time. But, like, I now understand what I want, where I want to go, and what I want to do. Yeah. And I've not had any type of pressures of saying, oh, well, I've got to make time for this or make time for that.
I think I know what you mean, because sometimes there's an element of, like, where, like, who I need to be right now is not ideal for a relationship. Like, who I need to be to make this thing go, to get this thing off the ground, is not conducive to a healthy relationship, because I'm like, if we're going on a date, or if we arrange a date, and I get a call for a listing, I'm gonna have
I'm answering the call.
I'm sorry, like, I'm gonna have, we're gonna, do you know what I mean? So there's an element that, like, there is, I can't, there's an element almost like, it doesn't make sense for me. You're gonna have to kind of accept that for now. You're gonna be second, or we're gonna have to kind of just, because I think otherwise it's just gonna sort of it will just spiral into something else. And I think I could imagine while you're in your head, you're thinking to yourself, it was probably the right thing. It was the right thing to do, and you haven't looked back. Not in the sense of any animosity towards your ex-partner, but just in the sense of this is what makes sense right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I started having them thoughts a year prior. But you know, we've got a house together.
Yeah.
I've been with this person for like 9 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to just go, you know what, let's just sack it off.
Yeah,
like you've really got to think it through, because like we're at that point where we're about to hit the 10-year mark, and like,
yeah, but this is where now you'd be like, okay, we're gonna get married.
Yeah, we're gonna have married, get kids, like we're gonna go and do this thing. So yeah, you really gotta. It was a process that I had to really go through, but I think last summer,
that's
I knew where it was fading.
Yeah,
but
have you like since then? Have you just sort of, as far as relationships go, are they completely on the back burner?
No.
Or is there an element of, you know, I might meet somebody is there, because you might meet somebody like in a like, I guess to like a better, like, are you looking for your summer in terms of man summer, or is there, because you know what, if it comes, it comes. Otherwise, or is this one of them things that you kind of put in a category of it's gonna come or it isn't? It's not something I can control.
I'm in that situation where I'm like, right, slow processes, right? So currently I'm dating someone now.
Yeah.
And we're in a slow process.
Yeah.
Like, it's working out really well because like we're both self-employed.
Yes.
And she has her own business. Right. So she understands the elements of, you know, when there's time to work and when there's time to socialize.
Yes.
So we're both very well, at the moment we're really good at the moment, because we can schedule that in.
Yeah.
And schedule it around. Whereas like, so we're in a slow process right now, but I am currently dating.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think if the other person's also, because they'll understand the sacrifice that needs to be made.
Absolutely.
And they won't take them personal. So when you do say, I got cancer, they're going to be like, I understand. Yeah. Because I'm going to cancel on you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think
we've done it already. We've done it to each other already. Like, she'll be like, oh, I've got an appointment. And I'll be like, that's fine. And then there's times where I'm like, oh, like, I've got to go to a market appraisal. And she's like, that's cool. Like, I think
again, sometimes you sort of, I'll say that, like, I think sometimes you kind of need that sort of, I think there's some spirit in your life, you need convenience rather than sort of, because again, I think it's great to have that sort of, that, you know, that genuine, fiery, you know, exciting love or whatever it is. But I think when you are trying to sort of, when you are self-employed and you're trying to and you've got a vision that you're trying to build. Yeah. I think as far as relationships go, I think you do need convenience. And I think the best convenience you can get is someone who's also trying to do that. That way, in a sense of when you can both sort of get to a point of where like you built your thing, whatever you're doing, then you can both be like, okay, let's now sort of. But again, there's a mutual understanding of, I'm trying to do something, you're trying to do something. Let's make it easier for each other, because we know how hard it's going to be, you know what I mean? Just even separately.
I think it works as well for us because she's been doing it for 10 years now. So she's pretty established now. She's got her clientele. She's got. Is she in the same? Is she in real estate? No.
So
she's a hairdresser, but she has like her own like salon in her back garden, and you know, she's doing really well. Like, absolutely, high ends like salon as well. I was like, whoa, what is this? Like, I didn't expect this. Like, you know what I mean? But like, so she's like gone through the process, especially when it was the start off. So she's very supportive in that sense, where she's like, listen, I know that you're going to be stressed out, and then know that there's going to be times where I need to be there for you, but not like put pressure on you. Yes. And I think that works for me, because I'm one of them guys, like if I'm stressed out and then you're adding more pressure, I just don't know what to do with myself. I just sit around and then just like, like, you know what I mean? I just need you to leave me alone. Whereas like, so she's really good at like just knowing when to just say like, it's all good, it will get there. Yeah. But you know, it's now that we're starting to get momentum. Yeah. Like the vision's becoming a lot easier now. Yeah. Because obviously, like I said before, there was just one vision. Now there's a couple more, and it's because of transitioning into the high end market and now having like more to do.
Yeah.
Like it's given me more vision. So now there's, the plans are working. So yeah, like, as I say though, but yeah, I'm in a slow process relationship, should I say?
Nah, happy to hear it, man. Honestly, happy to hear it, bro.
No, I appreciate
honestly,
it.
brother, I appreciate you coming along to the podcast. I can't wait to see what you do there. Honestly, man, I'm looking forward to see it, man. And hopefully one day maybe I could be one of your clients.
Yeah.
But for the meantime, bruv, keep up the good work, man. Honestly, bruv.
No, I appreciate it. I love this, by the way,
man. Appreciate it so much, brother.
I love the setup as well. This is cool.
Honestly, bruv, it's not too bad, man. I think it's I don't think I need to even really like I said, if anything, I might need to get a few more of these when I start getting like if I get like a panel on.
Yeah.
But other than that, bro, I think it'll be. And it's the thing. I feel like as it keeps going, like eventually, I can edit this out. By the way,
no, that's all good. It's all good.
But it'll be nice that especially as your thing grows and it grows and it grows. I'd love to come one day, especially if you've got like let's say when you've got like a listing, you're really like intrigued about, or if you get to a point where it is, it might be a listing that you're really excited about, one that you've been able to sell, or one that you're really looking to sell, wherever it is. I can literally bring some equipment. We can do an episode at the place.
Oh yeah, my next listing, you're doing that at, by the way.
Yeah, second.
If I get the Hertfordshire one, the 5 million, £10 million one, you can. We'll do it
bro, 100%, bro. Because I think that would be awesome because it's like with this social media thing, yeah, and the sort of the power from it. It's like I said, it's almost taking this real estate thing to another level in a sense of because it's like the people are buying from you. They're buying you, not the house. They're buying you.
Yeah.
So when they feel good about you, and they see the house, they're like, there's an element that like, because there's like I've seen before. There was there's a picture of like I think it was Jay-Z and Beyonce, when she was doing her tour, and I think they were just sitting on a chair. It was just like it looked like a chair like that, and it was just like I think it was like the cream colored chair, and he was just wearing a tux and she was wearing a dress, and the place where they were sitting in, it was just had like a plain colored wall. They could have been just sitting in a storage room, but for some reason, when you look at it, you're thinking, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because you're associating everything around it with that. So there's an element. So when they see you, and they see your personality and the attitude, and they really like the house, immediately they go, yeah, this makes sense, and they associate your personality with the property, and it kind of becomes this whole thing in a sense of because they build up it'll build up this idea in their head of who you are and what you're selling, and it kind of just sort of, I don't know, it just helps. Yeah. And I think it's just, and like I said, I think the more you go, the more you get into it, and the more you do it, like, and the more like confident and just the way you start just to flow into it. I think in 5 or 10 years time, like who knows what it's gonna be, bro? You know what I mean? It's gonna be.
It keeps changing every time as well. That's the crazy part. So if you look at it, the Americans have been doing this style that we're doing now for years.
Oh, really?
This is all they've been doing.
Yeah.
Like ever since social media ads happened, ever since like they do open houses, they don't do like private viewings. They do open houses. That's all they do. And then if they find someone there that wants to see it again, that's the only time they do private viewings.
Right.
They do like social media. Like people now are trying to do social media, like the high street agents, but they don't know how to do it. They just put it on. They just put it on Instagram and then expect something to happen, and you're like, that's not the way. Like
that's the thing. Like that's you hit the nail on the head, because then you said that they're putting on social media, but they don't know how to do it. So because the thing is, when you put something on social media, you need to have someone with it. You need to have a persona that goes with it.
Exactly.
And that's what you're looking at social media. That's essentially what because I think that's the thing about with Matt and Tamar when I've watched their videos, there was an element of they were showing you the house. They weren't trying to show off themselves, but at the same time you was able to sort of like, I remember they showed one.
Don't tell me it's the Dubai one.
No.
The Dubai ones are nuts, by the way.
It was one that was in London, and the place had been
32 million? Was it recent?
No. It was a while back. It was because the thing is, the house, it wasn't a house that you would live in. It was a house that if you had stupid money, you just had it, and if you had a party, you're like, I'm gonna host it there. It'd been some old building that I think it'd been a church. a big like, church.
I know what one you're talking about.
And it had like sort of like when you went in, you could go down either way. And it just and immediately I thought to myself, if I had some boy. And the thing is, it was just, and like I said, I've watched things before where I watched people show houses before, and you can see they're trying to do a gimmick and they're being over the top. And there's an element like what they're saying about the house. You write this down and you don't believe it.
Yeah.
Whereas with Matt Simon, they were like, this is the house, blah 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 da da da. It was that they just showed the house, and it wasn't. So for people who just have an interest in houses, that was perfect. And in the sense of, I know that if I want to get a detailed look of a property where they can say it's this, it's that, I can get the idea of it. I can watch one of their videos, and it would just make sense.
Facts.
Whereas I've seen some, and like I said, because there was time where I watched 3 different videos of the same house, and I felt completely differently
and
about all of it. And I think it was only because I'd already seen, and there's an element, I'd always seen the more detailed one first. So that kind of, but I thought to myself, if I'd watched this last one first, I would have been like,
whatever.
I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think it is. Yeah, I think the like I said, I think if and the thing is, because as you said, in the UK, it's like it's still quite new.
Yeah.
If you can kind of be one of the pioneers that are driving that like I said, when in 5 or 10 years time, you've continued and you've kind of solidified that you're a full-on presence on social media when it comes to selling houses in the UK, luxury properties, my head. I think it will be, it'd be something special, man. Probably.
Yeah, 100%. There's people out there doing it, and there's a lot of successful people out there doing it.
Yeah.
But there's still, everyone's still learning. Like, it is brand new here, so like people are still learning. So there's still people adapting, learning new things.
Yeah.
So, but once we nail it, like the whole entire UK industry will change.
Yes. And
it will be like so fucking good. But there'll be so much competition. You'll be like, all right, I've got to step it up again, then again and again.
But I think that's where you're right in the sense of if you can get to a point where you're able to sort of create a team, then there's an element that you can kind of almost control the competition in the sense of you could hire the next so and so before they become competition. Does that make sense?
Facts.
And I think because the goal is to get good estate agents and sell people's houses. So, and if I can make it so that if I hire you, if I'm successful, you're successful, then why not?
Yeah.
Rather than be going toe to toe with everybody. I think it is that thing. I think, and like I said, and again, I think for anyone that's starting out, I think if you have someone like yourself who's able to sort of let me give you this advice so you can avoid these little potholes or these negative sort of spaces that your head will definitely go to when you're sort of starting this thing out. And again, in 5 or 10 years time, it won't be an estate agent starting out then. It's not going to be the same for them as for yourself when you're starting out now.
Yeah.
Or before when you started out. So there is an element that I think. Yeah, man. I think if you keep going with this, it will be something real special, man. And I think, I said, I think so far you're on the right track in the sense of, like I said, creating that presence on social media in a sense of that you can be the black version of this Ryan, what's his face?
Right. So,
But really, in reality, it will be the first Terrell Kilpatrick.
Do you know
what I mean?
Yeah.
Man.
It's
be dope, man.
It's crazy. Like, it is crazy, literally watching his TV show and then joining his course.
Yes.
Becoming a member.
Yeah.
And then 2 months into the real estate, his team reaches out to me. They're like, we want to have a conversation. Then he makes me his agent of the month on his social media page. We then have a conversation. We then every now and again have a miniature conversation. He still keeps up with everybody. I think like it's mental, like watching him on TV and being inspired from him.
Yeah.
To then having conversations. Do you know what I mean?
This is the thing.
Weird.
I think it like I said, it starts from something small as I'm watching this guy, but again, this is where of course, from him doing what he did, it's inspired you. Yeah. Which again sometimes it starts them little domino effects where it then begins. It grows into something that you couldn't even have imagined, and I think it is you know what I mean? And again, I think it's that thing of, if someone was to say to you, you know, you'd have an opportunity to try and sell a £10 million listing, there'd be probably, it's not even something you probably would have even considered. But again, you're now in the realm where life is giving you that, you have the opportunity and that option to sort of try and really make something of it. And again, it won't be the only opportunity, but again, it is just that you took that first step.
Oh man, honestly,
onto that journey, man.
Honestly, when I first started, I was like, I just want £1 million house, and genuinely, I was only getting like 200k houses, but at that point, it actually made more sense.
Yeah,
because I don't think I would have handled £1 million house at that point.
Yeah.
I would have absolutely pat myself, wouldn't have known what to do, wouldn't even know how to present it. I'd be like, this is a house. That's all I know. Like, this house has 4 bedrooms. What was it, 5? I don't even know. Like, what is it? Like, this house, it's a house. Buy it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I'm kind of glad of the journey that I've gone through, because I actually started low end, then I went mid range, and now it's like, okay, now I'm here.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think you need that though, isn't it? I think, as you said, there's an element that had you got the thing you thought you wanted at the time, you probably would have just fucked it up because you weren't ready for it.
I would have quit. I would have quit because I would have messed that up and went, this ain't for me. Like that, like maybe this ain't for me. I'm done. Do you know what I mean? And that's another thing, because I do feel like that would have happened. So I'm actually glad it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair play, man. Fair play, bro. Fair play. How's your mum, anyways? She all good?
Yeah. She's good, man. She's good. Really good. Yeah, loving life at the minute. Yeah. We're going, for our 60th, I'm taking her to Mexico.
Yeah?
So it's in, 16 days? Something like that? September the 11th, we're going for our 60th. Yeah.
Nice one.
For 10 days,
How long
man.
for 10 days?
Yeah, man. Can't wait.
Man.
Can't wait.
That'll be decent, man. That'll be decent.
Yeah, man. How's the family?
All right, man. This kid's growing too quick, bro. The little bad motherfuckers grow way too quick, bro. Honestly, it's just literally